Four teams remain. Four teams remain.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. Another game.
That is right, everybody. Welcome back to Inside the Zone with Mateo. Yep, we are back for another episode today on Thursday, January 22nd, 2026. It's the championship weekend coming up on Sunday. It's going to be a heck of a day here on Inside the Zone with Mateo with our weekly NFL show, Inside the NFL. And without further ado, let's just get straight into things here with Mateo's show batting order. If you guys know that by now, we use Mateo's show batting order every single episode. So if you would like to sponsor this segment, let me know. Send me an email, send me a DM on X, and we'll get you figured out. But Mateo's show batting order, basically just a lineup for, where we're going in the show today, a show order with a little sports twist with batting order. If you know baseball, you know what I mean. But for our weekly NFL shows that come to you guys every Thursday during the NFL season. We'll maybe sprinkle in some off-season episodes too. But we do this here. We do the same batting order every episode, really from September to February here on Inside the Zone with Mateo. So it starts off with 5 things I learned from last week. What did I learn from the last week of the NFL? And believe me, there's a lot. We're not even going to get to half of the games that played last week because there's so much to talk about. The next segment in this show is my accountability session and our picks segment. So I hold myself accountable for the picks I made last week, and then I will make my championship round picks here on the show. And then as we wrap up the show, we do my updated power rankings. And by the way, as a reminder for the playoffs, yes, we're talking about the playoffs. I don't know why I threw that in, but anyway. As a reminder for these power rankings, once a team gets eliminated, their position is locked in the power rankings. So the power rankings they get shorted through the playoffs because we're only ranking 8 teams so far, because then once they get eliminated, so their final spot will be eliminated. And, that's just kind of how we do it here once we hit the playoffs. And so we'll see. But that's not for a while, because we got 5 things I learned from the divisional round. So what did I learn from the divisional round of the NFL playoffs? Well, the first thing is, boom. Come on, that was a little out of order, but it's okay. Stop blaming yourself. Stop blaming yourself. Who do you think I'm talking about? I'm talking about Josh Allen. I am talking about Josh Allen. I don't know if this is going to work the way I want it to, but I think it is. Let's just listen to Josh Allen's comment, 15 seconds, of his post-game interview after the 33-30 overtime loss to the Denver Broncos, who then after that game were told that they had lost Bo Nix for the season.
It's extremely difficult. I feel like I let my teammates down tonight.
Your emotions, you normally aren't this emotional.
I'm just going to play it one more time. I'm going to turn that volume up all the way. Here it is.
It's extremely difficult. I feel like I let my teammates down tonight.
Your emotions.
He feels like he let his teammates down. There we go. Perfect. I got the subtitles perfectly. There we go. But anyway, you heard it. You see it in his face. You see it in his body language. He's crying. He's emotional. They lose the game, and he blames himself. Stop blaming yourself, Josh Allen. It is not your fault. everybody knows what position you were put into. This team, the Buffalo Bills, have serious depth problem. They have James Cook, Josh Allen, and a couple bigger not bigger names, but decent elite defenders. But other than that, their offensive line is very mid. Their receiving core is the definition of a mid receiving core. They've struggled with injuries. Their defense isn't as flashy as it used to be. No one is blaming Josh Allen. Or at least I don't think anyone should be blaming Josh Allen. A true leader does say this, though. So I have no problem with him saying it. But my guy, do not believe that. Do not believe that you let your teammates down because you did not. Sure, you had maybe not the best performance. 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He, I believe, lost a couple. Did he lose 1 or 2 fumbles? He lost 2 fumbles. He fumbled the ball 3 times. Sure, you could say, oh, that wasn't a great performance and he let his team down. Well, I do want to note that interception that the dude took away. Who was he? What was his name? Was it McMillan? I think it was McMillan. Yeah, because he didn't return it. He just took it away. That was a little bit of a fishy call, in my opinion. I don't know how much you blame even Brendan Cooks, who's been playing pretty good. He has been playing pretty good this season. He only made 2 catches on 6 targets, but overall through the playoffs in the Jacksonville win and in the season, he's really stepped up. And I don't know how much blame you put on Josh Allen because that throw was a dot. Josh Allen can only throw the ball. He can't catch the ball too. So when he says, oh, I felt like I let my teammates down. Sure. Yeah, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles lost. That's not the best. But when you say, oh, I let my teammates down and getting all emotional, and when it starts then to say, oh, maybe he's not a great quarterback. I've heard people on social media say that, oh, he's not going to win a Super Bowl. He's not that good, right? Stop it. Just stop. When you look at the facts, when you look at the stats plainly, just his stats, 25 and 39, 283, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. It does not look good. When you look at Bo Nix's stats, he was worse. Sure, he only threw 1 pick compared to 2, but he completed less passes than percentage-wise than Josh Allen. So if you're just going straight on stats, Bo Nix and Josh Allen performed pretty much the same way. But then you look at the stats. The run game, non-existent for Denver. James Cook, 24 carries, 117 yards. He did lose a fumble. The receiving end, Marvin Mims Jr., Courtland Sutton. Not the best receiving core, but they're still pretty good. At least Courtland Sutton and Marvin Mims, yeah. They were able to make some grabs. If you have Dalton Kincaid, a tight end, as your leading target, unless your tight end is George Kittle, Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, maybe a prime, or maybe even not just a prime, but a pretty good version of Travis Kelce. If it's not one of those guys being your leading receivers in yards. By the way, Dalton Kincaid never dropped a pass, never messed up. He was 6 for 6. He scored a touchdown. If it's your tight end of Dalton Kincaid being your leading receiver, you got a problem there. But y'all can say, oh, the offenses are pretty much the same, and, Josh Allen, let his team down. I'm not going to say Josh Allen let his team down because we're looking at more stats. You look at the defense. In my opinion, the Denver Broncos only were in this game. They were up in this game 20-10 at one point, at halftime. because of their defense. No matter how good a quarterback is, defense wins championships. So sure, Josh Allen can say, oh yeah, I feel like I let my team down. And I think, throwing 2 picks, fair reason. Losing 2 fumbles, fair reason to say, oh, I let my team down. But in that close of a game, your defense couldn't make one more stop. It just kind of sucks. And I think you have to blame that defense more than you have to blame Josh Allen. Blame the receivers more than Josh Allen. And by the way, Brandon Cooks, I'm not blaming you for that interception that McMillan took away from you. That was a heck of a play. I think looking back at it, it's a little fishy that they didn't take enough time to relook at it. But I was watching the broadcast. The rules analyst explained it. It looks like from the camera angles that we had, McMillan took the ball away before Brandon Cooks had full possession. So by rule, that is an interception. Okay? That is just an unlucky play that Josh Allen happens to get. If it goes for the Bills' favor, the Bills win the game. They just needed a field goal. Just the whole overtime session just kind of felt like it was Denver's to win. It's not about Buffalo. It's not about Josh Allen. It's about Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos defense, really. The Denver Broncos defense is one of the best defenses in the league. People were disrespecting them. This week's going to be a different story without Bo Nix, because Bo Nix, now, I guess, dislocated his ankle, broke his ankle, whatever. He's done for the season. And you got Jarrett Stidham. Jarrett Stidham is going to be the starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos. We'll talk about that some other time. But when I go back to my point and say, don't blame yourself, stop blaming yourself, I listed a couple other reasons that why the Bills lost this game compared other than Josh Allen. And let me just relist them for you guys again. The Buffalo Bills lost this game, in my opinion, 1, because the Denver Broncos defense is a very good defense. 2, James Cook lost that fumble on the momentum drive. 3, the Buffalo Bills have no receiving core. 4, the Buffalo Bills defense is not as deep as it has been. Number 5, Denver is a very hard place to play with the altitude. Number 6, it's the most Bills thing to do. 5 pretty good reasons, 6 iffy reasons. There we go. So there you go. Those are my opinions on this game and why I think Josh Allen should not be blaming himself for this. But as a good leader, I do respect it. It shows that you care. But then it also shows when they interview other players and say, well, Josh Allen said, oh, I feel like I let my team down. Some of these dudes just said, he said what? And stopped talking. Because they know it's not his fault. They know it's their fault. The offensive line did not have the best of performances. Sure only allowed 3 sacks. But Josh Allen didn't have enough time. And it shows you that even one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL, if he doesn't have a good offensive line, and this is why offensive line is so important. The offensive line, I believe, is one of the most important positions in football. I believe quarterback's number 1, offensive line is number 2, because they go hand in hand. If the offensive line does not do well, the quarterback's not going to do well. The offensive line kind of controls the offense besides the quarterback. So, hot take or not, I don't think Josh Allen should be blaming himself for this game. And I know some people have been saying, I believe Ryan Clark said it on Monday Night Countdown or something. And then, who was it? Was it Kendrick Perkins? I don't know. Or Jason Kelce. It was one of those guys. I don't remember who it was, but they were saying, "Oh, no, you should blame Josh Allen because he's in those moments, and that's why he gets paid to be in those moments." But to that I say, who's he throwing the ball to? And I think if the Buffalo Bills do not have a strong wide receiver one, a clear wide receiver one, you could go down this receiving core and say Keon Coleman, Brendan Cooks, Khalil Shakir, Ray Davis. Any of those could be your wide receiver one because they're all super mid. Mecole Hardman, Curtis Samuel. No one knows who the clear number one is. No one knows who the clear number two is. You just kind of throw to them and they all perform the same. So if the Bills do not have a clear number one receiver next season, same thing's going to happen. Buffalo Bills 12-5 this season. Not the best record in Josh Allen's career. He's won 13 of 14 games most of his career. Maybe even 11, but 12-5 doesn't seem real for Josh Allen. But there's no I in team. A team is a team. You need all the pieces. You can't just win with one superstar, one quarterback. We see this with the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings have more than one superstar. Justin Jefferson is a superstar, but then you have guys who could be superstars. I'd argue that Van Ginkel, not a superstar, but he's for sure a star. People on the defense are stars. You have multiple stars on that team. But there's holes in every team. And that's why the NFL is so fun to watch. Because truly, and this is why this season has been so fun to watch, because you do not know who's going to win a single game. Anyone can win on every single night. Any given night, anyone could win. Just like Sam Darnold. Just like Sam Darnold could win the Super Bowl. But believe me, it's not because of Sam Darnold. The second thing I learned from the divisional round of the playoffs is this. Boom! Darnold is not the reason the Seahawks are in this position. Sam Darnold, the most mediocre performance Saturday night against the San Francisco 49ers in that disgrace of a game. I was cheering for the Niners. I'm a huge Purdy fan. But when you look at Sam Darnold's numbers, you say 12 of 17, 124 yards and 1 touchdown. He was sacked twice. He has that oblique injury out of nowhere. Oh, and then they even said it today on X. I saw a tweet that said, Sam Darnold feels good, but still with his oblique injury, he's not going to throw as much. Yeah, because the Seahawks don't want Sam Darnold to throw in big games because they know he can't. My Sam Darnold rant is going to continue because I need to see a performance where he throws for 300 to 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, delivering good passes at least, to call him, okay, he's a legit quarterback. I don't think he's worth paying $100 million, and that is why I don't think my Minnesota Vikings re-signed him. Because they were a little smart. I'll give it them. I'll give it to them there. They weren't smart with the J.J. McCarthy thing, but it was, I think, smarter not to pay Sam Darnold $100 million because I don't think he's worth it. And by the way, our cap situation would have been absolutely terrible by then, so it would not have worked out. But Sam Darnold's performance was the most mediocre performance you could ever have in a playoff game. But yet they still blew them out. And so I'm saying Sam Darnold is not the reason that the Seattle Seahawks are 14-3. Sure, he's had good games. I'll give you that. But Kenneth Walker decides to have a running touchdown hat trick, 3 touchdowns on 116 yards. By the way, the 49ers defense needs to lock in. But by the way, they were injured. We'll talk about that in a second. Seattle's receiving core. Quiet night. Jackson Smith-Njigba, 3 catches for 19 yards on 4 targets. Cooper Kupp, 5 catches for 60 yards. He had a pretty good game on 5 targets. Kenneth Walker, 3 catches, 29 yards on 3 targets. Jake Bobo, 1 catch, 16 yards. The offense, besides Kenneth Walker, He had an absolute great game. And that's what you had to do against against the San Francisco 49ers because they had no run defense, no Warner, no Bosa. And I came onto this show last week and said the only way the 49ers would have won that game is if they could stop the run and they needed to force Sam Darnold to pass the ball. They didn't have to force Sam Darnold to pass the ball. The Seattle Seahawks can lean on that run game because Zach Charbonnet, who actually went down with the injury, I don't know if he's going to play against the Rams, but Kenneth Walker, at least, if the Rams cannot slow him down, you force Sam Darnold to pass. And Sam Darnold, he doesn't play that well against the LA Rams. Okay? That's the first part of this. The second part is that the Seattle Seahawks have a top 2 defense in the NFL. Devon Witherspoon, DeMarcus Lawrence, Leonard Williams, Julian Love, Byron Murphy, Reek Woolen. The list goes on. Ernest Jones. This defense, in my opinion, is why the Seattle Seahawks are 14-3 and are in the NFC Championship game. The NFC title game. Because what they did to the San Francisco 49ers offense, who, yes, sure, it was hurt. What they did to a couple other offenses in the season, the regular season. The way that they can sack the quarterback, play good man coverage, play good zone coverage, force interceptions, force turnovers, force 3-and-outs. It's unlike anything I've seen. This is one of the most dominant defenses in the NFL. I'd say the Broncos are at that level. I would even say the Vikings are at that level. Rams are pretty close, which makes it a very, very intriguing game against Seattle and the Rams. Because I truly believe both run defense are very good, very talented. So you're going to have to focus. You're going to have to rely on your quarterback. Are you going to take Matthew Stafford or Sam Darnold? I'll talk about that a little bit more when I make my picks, but I'll just tease it there. But this defense, though, is really good. Really talented. I was watching that game. I was streaming that whole game. You can go kind of fast forward through that whole, 3-hour stream. I think I ended the stream early because there's the fourth quarter was just a bunch of people running out the clock. Mac Jones came in for the 49ers. I was like, there's no point. You can go rewatch it. I'm saying kind of the same stuff here. The Seattle Seahawks defense is the only reason that I believe the Seahawks are in this position right now. Because I think if Sam Darnold did not have a good defense, and this goes back to the Minnesota Vikings as well. Minnesota Vikings have had a really good defense these last couple of years with Brian Flores, who basically they just signed to a contract extension unless he decides to take up a head coaching job. You put Sam Darnold with a team that doesn't have a good defense. The Jets, the Panthers. He goes back to being Mr. Nobody. So until I can see, he can perform at a high level without relying on your defense too much. Because frankly, if Sam Darnold would have just put up those numbers and Kenneth Walker would have maybe only gone 1 touchdown and their defense would not have had that great of a game, I'm pretty sure the Niners would have won that game. But the defense was too much for the 49ers offense, and the 49ers defense was too weak to stop Kenneth Walker. Notice how I say that, Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker, and I said this last week as well, and I said it a couple minutes ago. You have to stop. You have to stop Kenneth Walker. You have to stop Zach Charbonnet, who eventually got hurt. You have to stop the Seattle run game. Because if you stop the run game, it's not working. They will be forced to pass with Sam Darnold. And sure, he'll make some good throws. He's in the NFL. He's going to make good throws. But how many picks would have you had? 1, 2, 0? We don't know because they didn't even have to test it. They relied on the run game and the defense, and that's how it's been most of the season, unless they were playing some pretty bad teams and they were just throwing dots. He was throwing dots to JSN. It's going to be a really interesting game between the Rams and the Seahawks. But that's the second thing I learned from the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, that Darnold is not the reason, is not the main reason the Seattle Seahawks are in the position they are in right now. The third thing we're going to talk about here, the third thing I learned from the divisional round of the playoffs is going to be the back end of this team, the other side of this debacle in Seattle. Too much to handle is what I learned. The San Francisco 49ers, team I was cheering for through this playoffs. I'm a big Purdy fan, a big 49er fan other than the Vikings. You know, those are my two kind of teams. Not like Joe Burrow a little bit, but those. So really the Bengals, the 49ers, and the Vikings. I kind of like the teams that I like to cheer for, but mostly for the Bengals side, I just like Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow because they've been best friends with Justin Jefferson and stuff. They're really good athletes, fun to watch. But too much to handle for the 49ers. That's the third thing I learned. First of all, you come into the playoffs without Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, which is impressive that they were able to do that at a high level. They were competing for the 1 seed week 18. Without Warner, without Bosa. But when it truly mattered, it did expose that they are big parts of this defense. They've had some other defensive injuries. The 49ers have been absolutely robbed with injuries. And I read a story the other day, and it said the Niners are looking into something here where there's something that was built by the training facility that might be affecting this. I'm not quite sure. I'm not going to speak much about it because I don't know enough about it. But it's on ESPN. So I would encourage you guys to read it. I'm going to go read it eventually and figure out what this is because I saw it and it caught my eye. And I was like, whoa, this could make sense because, I mean, they've dealt with so many injuries these last couple years where I think they should have won a Super Bowl by now. I mean, you even think about when they had Jimmy Garoppolo and Deebo Samuel, right? Like, that team was good too. And, like, they were competing for a Super Bowl against the Chiefs. And then, right? I mean, it's just they've become so close. They've gotten so close. But yet, they've been rattled with injuries, and it's sometimes just too much to handle. And it really took a big blow when they lost George Kittle in the wildcard game against the Philadelphia Eagles because there was your number one receiver. It's kind of the same thing with the Buffalo Bills as the 49ers. They do not have a number one receiver. You have that quarterback, running back duo of either Allen and Cook or Purdy and McCaffrey, who McCaffrey today, breaking news, is going to be one of the 5 MVP finalists, which I thought was pretty interesting. Also finalist for Offensive Player of the Year, and I think Comeback Player of the Year. Very interesting. We'll talk about that probably next week because since it will be the Pro Bowl week next week, we'll kind of recap the championship rounds and we'll probably talk about some awards in a way and preview the Super Bowl. But hit that like button, hit that subscribe button so you never miss that episode or any other episodes here on Inside the Zone with Mateo. But anyway, losing George Kittle, that was a big thing. That was a big thing here. I mean, when you go here, we can look at the box score. Let me pull that back up. I mean, Brock Purdy, 15 of 27, 1 interception, it was not his fault whatsoever. Jake Tonjes filling in for George Kittle. I think he did a really good job, except, he lost that fumble and then he forced that interception. So it's like, it was okay. But you look, Juwan Jennings did nothing. Kyle Juszczyk, I mean, you don't expect him to do anything. Demarcus Robinson went back to being nobody. Kendrick Bourne was nowhere. Ricky Pearsall was nowhere. They just don't have a receiver, right? This is worse than the Bills receiving group. And I really think you got to address this. And there were breaking news yesterday as well. Brandon Ayuk, after that ACL tear in 2024, he's not going to be with the team. They're going to probably trade him. So there's been rumors for a trade with the Commanders, I believe, putting Ayuk with Jaden Daniels, I believe, and so probably wide receiver 2 to Terry McLaurin. But then for the Niners, there was a story that, since I'm a Viking fan, I get all these trade rumor thingies, right? Let's see do I have it saved? I think I have the graphics saved. Yeah, I do. I do have this. There you go. Mock trade. Vikings receive a second-round pick and a fifth-round pick for Jordan Addison. Now, I'm not saying this trade is what I would want for Jordan Addison as a Viking fan, but I wouldn't be opposed as a Niner and Viking fan of swapping this to get some picks or maybe even a player of some kind. Maybe take a Ricky Pearsall or something that can be a okay receiver. But Jordan Addison would help Brock Purdy have a receiver. I think Jordan Addison needs to be a number one receiver anyway on a team. And, behind Justin Jefferson is kind of hard. I don't want Jordan Addison, all his crimes and stuff. I just want to he gets arrested like every single day, bro. It's so stupid. Just get him out of our system. But something like this, I don't know, maybe a second and fourth, second and third, or a second and Pearsall or something like that, or third and Pearsall. I don't know. I think the buying option here could be very low. I don't know how desperate the Niners will be, though. Like, will they just want to keep Juwan Jennings? Will they want to run it back? I doubt it. I think they do need a receiver. So why not Jordan Addison, right? Why not? Or maybe we get Brandon Ayuk. You do Jordan Addison, Brandon Ayuk swap and add a pick in there or something like that, right? Something like that. I just thought I'd throw that out there. But it was clear more than ever that the Niners need health, but then they also need a wide receiver. Without George Kittle, it's tough. But, I mean, it's expected Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, and then George Kittle at some point to return for the 2026 season. But, yeah, it was just too much to handle. It's a disappointing end to the season for sure. But I think Kyle Shanahan did a very good job. And I wouldn't be surprised if he wins Coach of the Year. He was one of the finalists. I think Mike McDonald will probably end up winning that award, which is going to be funny because now the two teams that Sam Darnold has played for, those two coaches will become Coach of the Year. Kevin O'Connell won it last year. Maybe Mike McDaniels wins it this year. Mike McDonald, not McDaniels. But yeah, that's the third thing. That's the third thing I learned from the divisional round, of the NFL playoffs. The fourth thing I learned is this. Are we back to 2019? 2019 was, I believe, 7 years ago. Because we are in 2026 now. It's crazy that 2016 was 10 years ago. It's absolutely crazy. But the 2019 Super Bowl. Do you know what the 2019 Super Bowl was? If you know ball, you know what it is. But it was this Super Bowl. It was the New England Patriots and the Los Angeles Rams. It was a dang good Super Bowl. Close. The Rams had the lead all the way to the fourth quarter. And then Tom Brady didn't even throw a touchdown. But Sony Michel had the lone He had the lone touchdown, and then they had the field goal. And the Patriots beat the Rams 13-3. But I say, are we back to 2019? Because when you look at the remaining teams, here in the bracket. You see the Broncos and the Patriots and the Seahawks and the Rams. And in all honesty, if Jarrett Stidham somehow fills in for Bo Nix and upsets, I believe it would be an upset now because I think Drake May is probably the favorite because of Jarrett Stidham. Yep. This Patriots are favored 4.5 points. I think you should probably win this game if you're Drake May and the New England Patriots. And I don't know. I would say I have more faith in Matthew Stafford than Sam Darnold, and more faith in the Rams overall than the Seahawks. So in my eyes, the Super Bowl, probably Rams Patriots, isn't that far away. I'm not saying that's what I'm picking, because let me tell you, it's not what I'm picking. But it's not that far away. And think about in 2019. The 2019 playoffs were a very interesting playoffs. Let me pull it. Do it. I don't know if they have the bracket. Do they have the bracket? I don't know if they have the bracket still, like as a good graphic or anything. That's not what I want. Well, never mind. It doesn't really matter. But the road to the Super Bowl, I mean, you could see any of these teams make it. I think Jarrett Stidham probably in the Denver Broncos, the least, probable team to make it. So you would say, okay, the Patriots make it. So is the Drake May the new Tom Brady? And then the Rams with Matthew Stafford, I think probably could make this for sure. I could see Sam Darnold for sure coming in here, but let's just for this exercise, we have a Rams Patriots matchup, and it sounds like, oh, we're back in 2019. So that's just it's just a kind of a short one, just a short little thing I learned from the divisional round. I thought I'd slide it in there. But the final thing, the fifth and final thing I decided to say I learned from the divisional round of the playoffs is this. Boom! You could coach Lamar or Josh. Because we saw John Harbaugh got fired and then eventually got signed by the new York Giants. And then we saw Sean McDermott gets fired in the craziest firing. I don't know why they did that, but they did. But now it shows you that the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens, they're looking for head coaching jobs. So now all the people that got fired, all the defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators that could become a head coach, now you could coach Lamar Jackson, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, or you could coach Josh Allen, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And a little exercise we're going to do here is where do I think is a better coaching spot? Where is the more intriguing spot for coaches to go to? And in my opinion here, both are very intriguing. But when you look at the AFC North, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and how bad that division was. With the right pieces, you could turn the Ravens into a Super Bowl contender because they already have Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, and a pretty good defense. Zay Flowers is an interesting story. I think you could maybe trade him for a different wide receiver, but that's another story for another time. But from that aspect where that division's bad, so you're probably guaranteed a fight for the playoffs, at least. Like they were this year. Like they could have won the division if Tyler Loop would have hit that kick, right? But then when you look at Josh Allen, you see, okay, we're in a division now with Drake May, and the Patriots are a good team. And then, the Dolphins aren't that far away. And then the Jets are just the Jets. But Josh Allen, I think, in most people's eyes, are viewed as the best quarterback. I think most people think he's better than Lamar Jackson. So there's okay, we get to play with one, maybe top two quarterback in the NFL. Maybe you'd say, I don't know, Patrick Mahomes is better or whatever. I don't know. Joe Burrow. Maybe you'd say Lamar's better, but I think most people are going to say Josh Allen's the best quarterback in the NFL. So you get to play with one of the best quarterbacks, probably better than Lamar. Lamar didn't have the best season. In a bigger division, though. However, the AFC, I believe, is way weaker than the NFC, so that doesn't affect anything either, though. I'm just kind of thinking out loud here. And overall, I don't know. I don't know what the better option is. Where's the better spot? Where's the more attractive spot to go to if you're a head coach or if you're a free agent who wants to coach, right? If you're, let's take who got fired recently. Mike Tomlin didn't get fired. Sean McDermott or someone, or Kevin Stefanski got re-signed, or say even Brian Flores. Sure, he got extended by the Vikings, but that means he can still take a head coaching job, and he was interviewed by the Ravens and the Steelers. What about, why not the Bills? If you're Brian Flores, or if you're Joe Brady, or if you're any of those dudes, Mike McCarthy, when looking at two attractive spots, I believe it is the Bills and the Ravens. But which one's better? And I'm not quite sure. And maybe that's an episode idea for another time in the offseason of like saying, if everybody fired their coach, which spot would be the most attractive? Because there's the upsides of coaching jobs, and then every team has the downside or two. I want to know what you guys think, bro. Let me know in the comments down below. Is Buffalo or Baltimore? Baltimore or Buffalo? Which spot is more attractive for a coach that wants to be a head coach that is either a coordinator right now or a head coach that recently got fired? Let me know in the comments down below. I don't know. I'm not going to even say what I think because I legit don't know. Let me know in the comments for sure. But that's going to do it for 5 things I learned from the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. And as a recap, we talked about the Bills' mayhem, the Seahawks defense, the 49ers' injuries. We said, is it 2019 all over again? And then you tell me, Bills and Ravens, between those two, which spot is more attractive to the person out looking and saying, oh, I might want to coach there? Let me know in the comments down below. But this has been a fun episode so far. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button so you never ever miss any episodes here. And it's time. It's time now for our next segment of the day. It's time for our pick segment. Let's go. Here we go. Accountability, and it's time to predict the unpredictable. Mateo's not divisional round picks. My bad, boys. I sold that. I sold that pretty bad. Let me fix it. Boom, boys. There you go. It should be fixed. I hope it's fixed. But it is time to predict the unpredictable Mateo's championship round picks, plus a little bit of accountability session, how well I did last week. And if last week you followed me on my picks from last week, we did okay. We had the Broncos, which was good. And then we also had the Los Angeles Rams, which was good. Unfortunately, we had the San Francisco 49ers, which we got wrong. And we had the Houston Texans, who got embarrassed. CJ Stroud, come on, why do you have to throw 4 picks? You could have even won that game closer to the third quarter, and then it just kind of became a blowout. And that's all she wrote. But it is time to predict the unpredictable. We came up with this name because, this season has been unpredictable, and it's been a hard season to predict. So time to predict the unpredictable. It's my championship round picks coming up. Here we go. We got 2 games. 2 games. Y'all know. Let me get this. Where is the playoff bracket thingy? There we go. Perfect. Boom. There we go. So we got, who do we start? NFC or AFC? I don't know. Where do we start for? Let's start with the AFC. Jarrett Stidham, and then Drake, May. The early game, it's a 3 o'clock Eastern time scheduled game, kickoff on Sunday. So that should be interesting. That should be very, very interesting. But we got some game odds here. The New England Patriots right now. The New England Patriots are favored -4.5 points. Very interesting. Even though Denver is the home team, obviously Jarrett Stidham will be making this start. And I don't know if anybody even knows. Does anybody even know who Jarrett Stidham is? I didn't even really know who Jarrett Stidham was But he's going to be the starter. Luckily, Sean Payton does have a history with backups, and we know Nick Foles and Carson Wentz. We know that whole situation in Philly a couple years ago. That was more than a couple years ago, but we know what happened with Nick Foles. He went on a crazy performance and led his team to the Super Bowl. But it would be really disappointing if the Patriots lose this here with Drake May. Drake May, I don't think the spotlights are going to be too bright for him. I think he is going to shine. I don't know if they're going to necessarily win this game, but I do think they have enough. They have it. They have enough to win this game. There's two things that worry me. The first one is the altitude. How well do they adjust to the altitude? You saw that the Buffalo Bills did not adjust very well. They got off to a slow start, scoring only 10 points in the first half. Then later scored 20 points in the second half. But then also, the Broncos defense is still a very good defense. And, you take Bo Nix out, but you say, okay, Jarrett Stidham, can you just give us a decent performance? And then they're going to get, I believe, J.K. Dobbins back. So maybe you give the ball to J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey. And then don't try to force anything, but then just kind of let it flow out. Let the game flow out on its own. Don't try to force anything. Don't go for big plays. Sean Payton's a very wise coach. He's been in the league a while. He knows how to coach. And I think it could make a very intriguing game. But the Broncos defense is a good defense. I think they can get to Drake May. I think they can get to him, try to sack him, get him sacked. And I even think they could probably force an interception or two. Does this mean Jarrett Stidham? Yeah, Jarrett Stidham's going to probably throw an interception or two as well. I don't legit know who to pick here, but I think I'm going to have to go Drake May. But I would not be surprised if the Broncos defense shows everybody why defenses win championships. So give me the New England Patriots to make it to the Super Bowl just a couple years after, a little bit of a mini rebuild. And then they got Drake May after, a couple of years of Zach Wilson, and I don't even know who was over there anymore. But then we'll see. We'll see what the Patriots can do coming up. And then the later game is the Seahawks and Rams, and that's the game everybody's going to probably be watching. Sam Darnold versus Matthew Stafford. Both defenses are very good. They had a pure cinema game a couple weeks ago towards the end of the regular season where the Seahawks they did win that game. Some impressive performances there all around. Both teams, they both won the season series. Like, they split the season series. But overall, I really think this could be a fun game. But when you're predicting a game, you have to break everything down. And I think both defenses are going to stop the run pretty well. So I think you have to look at the offense. You look at the quarterback, in my opinion. The quarterback, the most important position in football. Matthew Stafford, Sam Darnold, who are you taking? Are you going to take one of the MVP candidates in Matthew Stafford or Sam Darnold, who's, not supposed to throw a lot because of his oblique injury? But with all that said and done, the Seattle Seahawks, my gosh, bro, I don't know why I'm doing this. I have to. I have kept saying, okay, Sam, okay, Seattle, I'm still not a believer, right? I've kept saying this all these shows, right? I need you to show me that you can win games, high pressure games that actually mean something. I need you to show me that your team is good, that I can believe in your team. I still don't believe in Sam Darnold. But I believe in the Seattle Seahawks defense, and yes, I said that. I believe in that defense, and if Kenneth Walker can do what Kenneth Walker did to the 49ers last week. I watched both Seahawks 49ers games. Week 18, I watched that whole game, and I watched the whole divisional round game. If the Seahawks can do what they did, and the Rams can't stop them, and the Seahawks defense can do what they did to Purdy and McCaffrey, if they can do that to Nakua and Stafford and Adams, Seattle Seahawks. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I think we're going to have a Seattle Seahawks, New England Patriots Super Bowl. Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. Those are my picks. Seahawks, Patriots Super Bowl. Which, by the way, it did happen. It did happen. Tom Brady ended up beating Seattle in the Super Bowl a couple years back. 28-24 was that score. The quarterbacks for those games, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, Marshawn Lynch, Julian Edelman, Rob Gronkowski. They have met before. So, I said, it's maybe 2019 where, you get the Patriots against the Rams. Let's rerun the clocks even more to 2015, where the Patriots beat the Seahawks. February 1st, 2015, 24. I think in my opinion, we're going to put the clocks back, wind the clocks back to either 2015 or 2019. Because, it's going to take a miracle for Jarrett Stidham to play well. But hey, miracles happen. This season has been unpredictable. I don't know who would win this game right now, but I'm going to take the Seahawks. I'm going to take the Patriots, and those are my championship round picks here on Inside the Zone with Mateo. That was time to predict the unpredictable. By the way, we are 70% 7-3 in the playoffs. We were 167 and 105 in the regular season, so that was 61%. And now it's time for our last segment of the day. It is time for our power rankings, everybody. Our power rankings. And as a reminder, I said this at the start of the episode before the playoff teams. We will only rank the remaining playoff teams or recently eliminated. The other teams are locked till after the postseason when we will do our final power rankings of the season. So with that, we close everything else and we focus in on our wonderful tier list. Our wonderful tier list that is almost completely filled up because, once we hit week 18, all the eliminated teams just kind of froze. They kind of froze because they couldn't move anymore because they weren't going to make the playoffs. As you can see, all these playoff teams eliminated in the wild card rounds. Super Bowl contenders, Super Bowl favorites are the only ones that we're ever going to rank now. So all the eliminated teams will go in this playoff team category. So by the way, we will end up only having one Super Bowl contender for, who the team that I don't think will win the Super Bowl, and then the Super Bowl favorite will be changed. Boys, we're going to change it to one Super Bowl winner because there are only going to be technically 4 teams we rank this week, but after the extra 4 teams we rank next week, okay? We're changing it up because less teams are getting ranked. So let's start with the eliminated teams, starting off with the Houston Texans. They had a pretty bad game. Pretty bad game. They're going to be the worst of the teams that got eliminated. CJ Stroud just did not have a great game. They were without Nico Collins. So once he gets back, they'll be back to pretty good. I think CJ will spend some time training, and I think we see a rebound from him. And that defense is still a really good defense. So they had a lot of respect to them for making the divisional round. They just unfortunately couldn't get past Drake, May, and the New England Patriots. And the next team we're going to talk about here, the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen. They're going to be the next team here ranked. They're still, all these teams, by the way, are still going to be in the top 10 because there were 8 teams left. So they're all still going to be in the top 10. But Bills are going to sit at 9 here because there's just a lot of unknown things about the Bills. We don't know who their new head coach is going to be. We don't know if they're going to get a wide receiver. We don't know what their defense is going to look like. We don't know what they're going to do. A lot of unknowns after another heartbreaking end to the heartbreaking end to the season. But the Buffalo Bills are going to be my next team ranked there. Following the Buffalo Bills, we could do the 49ers or... Excuse me, I don't know. My mic is not locked in for us. I'm sorry. We could do the Niners or the Bears because those are the two teams left. And I think I have to do the Niners here. The Niners have been a mess. And low-key, I think we're going to put the Niners down 1. No. I keep saying they've been pretty good. But the Niners, yeah. The Niners are unfortunate. It's unfortunate that the season had to come to an end like this. Again, just too much to handle, as we talked about in what we learned from last week, just because there was too much to handle, too many injuries to handle. They lose now Robert Saleh, their defensive coordinator. They're going to have to find a new defensive coordinator there. But overall, I think it was a really good, successful season. It was a little disappointing, but it wasn't as disappointing as a couple other seasons. I think the Bills season was more disappointing for sure. And a couple other seasons, including the Bears here, the final team that will be in this playoff team segment, in this playoff team tier right now. The Chicago Bears are the last teams to be eliminated. They came close. They are a very lucky team, but I've been calling them frauds since probably weeks 13, week 14. They just win the luckiest games. They're the NFC's versions of the last couple years of the Chiefs, getting plays on their side. That touchdown to Loveland, bro, to force overtime was absolutely insane. I thought, oh shoot, they're gonna do it again, but luckily they didn't. Chicago Bears, they deserve a lot of credit. They're going to end as a top 5 team in the NFL. That's absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. So congratulations to the Chicago Bears. You're going to be a top 5 team here, at least for the next couple of weeks here before we do the end of the season power rankings. But which that means it has the 4 teams that are playing this week, Super Bowl contenders and 1 Super Bowl winner. So 3 contenders, because obviously they're all contending, and 1 Super Bowl winner. So right now, the weakest of these 4 teams, I look at the quarterback room, I see Jarrett Stidham, Matthew Stafford, Sam Darnold, and Drake May. And, I'm sorry, Broncos. I'm a huge fan. I was a believer. But it's unfortunate that it looks like your season's going to come to an end. But hey, since everyone's saying your season's going to come to an end, maybe it won't. And I really do believe if they win this game, they win the Super Bowl. Hot take. Yes, I know. But I think if Jarrett Stidham somehow wins this game, he pulls off a Nick Foles. That defense, though, I think is enough to carry, as we know. Defense wins championships. Maybe it can also win a championship round. We'll figure that out coming out on Sunday. But then these 3 teams I think are very close. Seahawks, Rams, and the Patriots. I think they're all close, and obviously only one can be on the Super Bowl winner for this week. And in my opinion here, dude, this is hard. I'm changing, dude. My mind is racing here. Like I had a original plan of how I was gonna do this, and I'm kind of changing it here. But I think what I got to do, since I have the Patriots and the Seahawks winning, I think I have to put the Rams. I was going to put the Rams at 2. but I'm going to put them at 3. And I think that makes the most sense for this. But the Rams, I could see you winning. I could for sure see you winning, and I kind of want you to win. I don't want Sam Darnold to win the Super Bowl after the year he decides to leave. The Vikings don't decide to pay him. Imagine, dude, if he wins the Super Bowl, I will freak out as a Viking fan because our organization is going to be absolutely embarrassed. But then that leaves the 2 teams, the Seahawks and the Patriots, the teams I have winning this week. I think the Super Bowl is going to be Seahawks against the Patriots. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong on both, that's crazy. But for now, dude, again, as a Viking fan, I just don't want Sam Darnold to win a Super Bowl. So that's the only reason I'm going to put them here. Sam Darnold, I don't know if you can win a Super Bowl. I don't know. But you're going to be a top 2 team. You're going to be the best of the Super Bowl contenders, which means the Patriots are going to start a new dynasty, boys. I thought we got rid of the Chiefs dynasty, but nope. We might have a new dynasty coming up in the New England Patriots with Drake May, Mike Vrabel. He's the new Bill Belichick, and Stephon Diggs is the new Julian Edelman. They just need a good tight end for Rob Gronkowski, and then it's the new Patriots all over again. I'm going to have them at the top of the tier list as my Super Bowl winner for now. But those are my my championship round power rankings. Boys, oh my goodness, let me know your thoughts. Do you think the Rams should be the number 1 team? Where should the 49ers be after, losing? Should they be closer to 10 or closer to 5? Let me know. But one final day here, we will say 1 through 32. One more time here, 1 through 32. I will say, here we go. Dude, this part is always the worst part because you just have to keep saying it with, you got to say the number and then the team, number and the team, number and the team. It's so long, but here we go. Let's go it. Starting off, my number one team is going to be the New England Patriots. Number two are the Seattle Seahawks, 3 Rams, 4 Broncos, 5 Bears, 6 49ers, 7 Bills, 8 are the Texans, 9 Jaguars, 10 Eagles, 11 Panthers, 12 Chargers, 13 Packers, 14 Steelers, 15 Ravens, 16 Buccaneers, 17 Lions, 18 Cowboys, 19 Dolphins, 20 are the Bengals, 21 are the Vikings, 22 are the Indianapolis Colts, 23 Chiefs, 24 Falcons, 25 Saints, 26 are the Cardinals, 27 Commanders, 28 Browns, 29 Giants, 30 are the Tennessee Titans, who hired Robert Saleh, 31 are the Jets, and 32 are the Las Vegas Raiders, who are going to have the number 1 overall pick, most likely take it from Fernando Mendoza, who just won the national title. So congratulations to Indiana and Fernando Mendoza. But those are my power rankings for this week, bro. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. It was a heck of an episode. It was a fun episode for sure. And I hope you guys, really enjoyed this. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. We're on our way to 500 subscribers here on Inside the Zone with Mateo. A little, what's going on in the upcoming weeks here on Inside the Zone with Mateo. We got another 5-year rebuild coming out on Saturday that you guys vote for which game I do. So I basically, I think Friday I release a poll and it says, okay, I'm doing another 5-year rebuild for the next Saturday. What game do you want me to rebuild a team in? Madden, NHL, NBA 2K, or MLB The Show? You guys vote. Madden's won every single week. They won again, so I'm filming that video actually right after this. And it's going to be a cool 5-year rebuild. We try to win 2 championships in 5 years. Go check out my latest Bengals one. We did Bengals, we did Browns, we did Saints. Super excited. It's going to be another AFC team actually coming up on Saturday. It premieres every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And then my weekly episode on Tuesdays are normally to be determined just because I kind of just decide most likely the day before just on whatever is the hot topic right now. I think we will actually do our NHL and NBA monthly power rankings because unlike the NFL, the seasons are so long for the NHL and NBA, so we just do the power rankings once a month. So I think we'll just end up doing those on Tuesday, but then we got my NFL weekly show on Thursday. We got another rebuild following that. So go ahead and vote for what game you want me to rebuild in the January 24th rebuild. Sorry, not my 24th, the 31st. My whole slide is messed up. But then we also got daily shorts, daily content, pumping out content for you guys. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day and enjoyed this episode. If you have any other suggestions for my episodes, let me know. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to keep God first because He's the most important thing in your lives. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.